Hello, my name is Russell Myers. Welcome to Issues Unite. So, on a couple of previous videos, I had talked about a peace treaty between Ukraine and Russia, sounding very hopeful that it would come very soon. And now it's not looking as hopeful. It's not going to happen. Whenever it happens, it is not going to happen anytime soon. Why is this? The Ukrainian and Russian negotiators were coming to consensus, making agreements, and some of these agreements that Russia agreed to was having an alliance of different countries that would guarantee Ukrainian security. And some of those countries included Germany, France, the United States, numerous other countries, the UK, and including Russia as one of the countries that would guarantee the security of Ukraine. So what's happening here? Well, what's happening is I can keep pointing to Zelensky and saying that he's asking for all these weapons and all this stuff, but honestly, I and many others do not actually believe that Zelensky is genuinely in charge. He is being controlled by Western governments, especially the United States. And if you were the leader of a country and you had other countries stating that they would guarantee your security if you come to a peace agreement, wouldn't you reach that agreement? Wouldn't you try and do everything you can? But instead, what is happening is Western governments are sending heavier munitions into Ukraine, and Zelensky keeps on asking for more and more. If you're the leader of your country and your opponent is saying, if we reach an agreement, all hostility stops today, would you want your people to continue being killed? Your country to be destroyed? What is the purpose in this? What is the purpose? This is so that NATO can move in to Ukraine. Although NATO has already said that they will consider Ukraine as part of NATO, but it will take years. By the NATO charter, Ukraine is not currently a candidate to be a part of NATO because they have an active civil war going on. If Russia pulled all of their troops out today, Ukraine would not be a candidate for NATO because they have had an active civil war going on for 8 years. Some people are still trying to deny this. It doesn't matter how much evidence you give them. You can, just as I have on social media posted many articles dating back all the way to 2015 about the civil war going on for Donbass, the attack of the Ukrainian government on the Donbass region. This has been going on for 8 years. I've posted articles and reports from Human Rights Watch, from the New York Times, from the Washington Post, from the United Nations, referring to the conflict, the armed conflict with tens of thousands of people being killed in the Donbass region since 2014. If you had the chance for peace, wouldn't you make agreements for that peace? What is the problem with declaring yourself a neutral country if your security is being guaranteed by numerous other countries? Why would you want more weapons, more warfare, more destruction? Why would you want that? It makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. Now we have the issue in Bucha. Some people are debating about how that is pronounced. As far as I am concerned, I'm going with the trends in, that region from Germany on east. I've never heard a ch sound like in chicken in that, Bucha, like Bucharest, Hungary, Buchenwald, Germany. It's always a k sound, not ch. So it's not a chicken sound. No. I could be wrong, but I seriously doubt it. Those, Ukrainian, the Ukrainian language has a lot of similarities with Hungarian. So anyway, with Bucha, you can see a lot of reports saying that there are too many questions about this. What is going on there? We don't know, but the mayor of Bucha, Russia evacuated Bucha on March 30th. On March 31st, the mayor of Bucha came on and said how great it was that Russian troops had departed, and calling them orcs and what have you. But he didn't mention any bodies. Would he be so cheerful? There have been interviews with people of the area that have been saying that the Russians treated them with respect, brought them food, brought them clothing, brought them water. There was no talk of any killing of any kind. So March 31st, the mayor says it's great how Russia had left, the Russian forces had left. And so April 1st, there's no talk of bodies. April 2nd, there's no talk of bodies. But on April 2nd, the Ukrainian government says that they are sending in a cleanup crew, basically. And suddenly, on March 3rd, on April 3rd, suddenly we're hearing and seeing these bodies, all of them with their hands tied behind their back, all of them with white bands around their arms, which are signs that they were Russians delivering humanitarian aid. That's what those white bands on their arms mean. So guess who was killing, guess who was being killed. Then there is an attack on a train station. And the particular type of missile that was used is one that Russia says, and numerous other entities have stated, Russia has not used those missiles for many years. It is a Soviet-era missile that hit that. But you know who has those missiles in their arsenal? You guessed it, Ukraine. Is this leading toward peace? They're killing their own people. But like I said, if Russia moved out today, the conflict between Donbass and Ukraine would still be going on. Ukraine would still be trying to invade and murder people of their own country, as they have been doing for 8 years. The reason Russia moved in was because Ukraine had amassed 120,000 troops along the line of contact with Donbass in preparation for invasion and slaughter. That is why Russia had pulled their troops back. But when Ukrainian forces started moving in along that line of contact, that was when Russia said, nope, this is not happening. Am I claiming that Putin is an angel? Am I claiming that this is completely innocent or anything like that? No, I'm not. But when have you ever heard of an armed conflict and the aggressor saying, no, you can keep your president, you can keep your government, you can keep your sovereignty as long as you are militarily neutral? When have you ever heard of that? And yet that's what Russia's doing. Have they said anything about removing the government? It is Zelensky who has outlawed 11 of the political parties in Ukraine. Russia didn't do that. Is this a path toward peace? No, it is not. So the people that and the parties that have been outlawed in Ukraine are the very ones that have urged Zelensky to make a peace agreement, to declare Ukraine neutral. I bring into question again, how did a comedian become a billionaire? Where did this money come from in a country with an economy the size of Ukraine's? Ukraine has been suffering economically for years, and that it was bad. It was not great before the Euromaidan, but ever since the Euromaidan and the overthrow of the government, the separation, the cutting off of trade with Russia, it has gotten considerably worse. And yet that's in the same, and yet in that time frame is where Zelensky suddenly came out of nowhere and became a billionaire. How did he become a billionaire? He did not come from a wealthy family, from what I understand. So where does it come from? Even if you own a media company in Ukraine, Where did that much money come from? And there are no answers. You're not going to get any answers. But here he is speaking to our Congress, speaking to numerous other countries' leaders, and getting all of these weapons in there to kill more and more people and keep this war going. I don't have any answers. There's nothing that we're going to do as long as our government continues to incite, antagonize, arm, fund with your tax money more and more weapons into Ukraine. The United States does not stand for peace. NATO does not stand for peace. Russia had nothing to do with the destruction of Libya or Iraq or Afghanistan or Syria. They're not bombing Somalia. The United States is doing all of this. NATO is doing all of this. And yet, who's being called the monster? Should we do what we can to control Russia? Well, yeah, but why not let them into NATO so that there's no conflict? Instead, it's cooperation, which is something that, that Putin has been talking about for 20 years now. If you end any conflict at the political level, then you prevent conflict at the military level. Doesn't that make sense? All right. Share this video. Talk about these subjects. If you can, please donate $1 a month to help expand the channel. And I will catch you in the next one.